Good morning, folks. Welcome to another episode of Something More Than Gibberish. This is episode 67, and today I have the pleasure of featuring a poet from Jamaica. Historically, is rooted within the community of Spanish Town in Jamaica. Delbert Cespedes, better known as Xgzabeher by his social media handle. He's a amazing artist that I'm really looking forward to featuring and getting to know more on. I've seen him on Clubhouse and some of his work on IG. What inspires me with Xgzabeher is he gets a lot of incentive for his work from nature. And let's face it, we are surrounded by nature, and nature is a very powerful tool in guiding us through life. So really looking forward to it. Now, Xgzabeher is in the room, so I'm going to bring him up so he can get into this show immediately. Welcome to everybody in the room. Hi, Next Blue. I'm bringing Xgzabeher up now. Wait.
Boy,
Hey, Xgzabeher. Pleased to meet you, brother.
and Rainier, big up yourself.
Man, so good to see you. I've been waiting for this for a while. I've
I,
heard some of your work on Clubhouse. Unfortunately, when Clubhouse is on, I'm either just waking up and getting ready for work, so I haven't been able to come on, but I've been able to listen while getting ready for work. Um, Welcome to the show. Welcome to Something More Than Gibberish. So about the show today, it's all about you, showcasing you to the world beyond the normal realms we work in. So feel free, do not feel that you need to go in any particular direction. This is all about showcasing you, what brought you into writing, what inspires you, etc.
why I want to tell you, I have been waiting. Um, when we first arranged this thing, it was months ago,
Yes,
and I was like, man, this is just never gonna come, and but here we are. You know what I mean,
exactly. Now, I've got quite OCD tendencies, and I take this show seriously because I like to really showcase the featured guests. So I am currently booked till the my next available slot is the 26th of June. That's how far ahead I'm booked up.
but that just simply shows that you gotta do the work. You know what I mean?
Exactly. It's if you're going to do it, you do it right. Okay, you know what I mean. So. So tell me about you, Xavier. First off, let's get into this handle, your Instagram handle. I know there's a big story, we've chatted before, so I'd like you to tell the world how this stemmed, because I think that's a vital part of inspiration as well, right?
That is true. So my handle Xgzabeher. And I want to tell you, you're right to say that there is quite a story behind that name because I've probably been, if we go back to the beginning, I started writing poetry at 12 years old.
Wow.
Really just writing a lot. Then realize that, you're rhyming a lot and other people are seeing it, the girls in your class see it and they're like, whoa, and you're like, all right, start write the girls some poetry or whatever, whatever in high school. But here's the thing is, I've always been looking for a name, right? And I think I've gone through several evolutions as a person. Just a kid, not really abreast with the real matters of life. So, I had Kalish in the beginning, which was short for Kalishnikov. It's like Kalish, the lyrical Kalishnikov. At which time I wasn't thinking about any of the things I'm thinking thinking about now as a poet, right? In Jamaica, there's a very vibrant reggae and dancehall culture, and the younger people are more towards dancehall, and the older people are more towards reggae. So
Yes.
when I was in that age group, I was a dancehall person, and dancehall song is high energy music, very lyrically dense, and there's a lot of violence described in that form of music as well. So I wrote a lot of songs that had to do with that, and so Kalish was the first name. Um, Story goes on. I after 5 years, I realized after 5 years of writing poetry, I was at about age 16, 17, and realized that in all this time I'm not really writing about anything of substance. You know what I mean? Like, just as I'm saying, I have no reference to write anything that is of any substantial worth. Um, so before I go into the story, let me answer the question. Yeah. So going through year after year, making evolutions, I've stepped from poetry to songwriting because in Jamaica, trust me, creativity is like hand on the beach, right? Our culture is very expressive, right? I mean, I could tell you personally from living here, there's a song about everything you can possibly think about. Trust
Yeah.
me. Going up here, you can't walk around the block without seeing somebody doing something creative, right? I'm at my house writing a poem. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna link my brethren around the road. He has a studio. They're voicing a song around there. On the way, I'm passing my other brethren who's a dancer. He's trying to build a choreograph to a new song that my other brethren produced around the other side of the road. And it's just like this creative network, this web. And it really is an integrated part of our culture, um, which is an important um, dovetail into why the name exists. Essentially, kept looking, no name. There was this one day, meet my best friend, and he's listening to that song we were talking about.
Yes.
Headphones, right? I don't even know how I was able to hear what he was listening to, but it just sounded like, yo, this sounds tough. And eventually found out the title of that song was Xgzabeher. And the song was Peter Tosh for our other viewers. Peter Tosh sang that song. And really, the moment I heard that name, it resonated with my soul, my everything. And I really did some digging to find the etymology of the word, its origins, and the cultural significance of where it originated. And got to find out that, as it says in the song, it means let Jah be praised,
Yeah.
right? In all things. And how that dovetails with my personal creative philosophy is that I there was a long period of time where I wasn't being creative in any kind of substantial way. You know, it was um, coming into the company of people who are creative, being inspired by their works that made me say, hey, maybe I can, take up back my writing. I was doing songwriting at the time because I was in the studio so much. You know what I mean? So I would just always be in the corner penning down my little whatever while they're playing the beat and the other artists that are actually in the booth are recording. So I'm just always in the corner writing down stuff. And I sincerely believe that the absence of all the people who I've met and interacted in my life, I would not be the artist I am today. You know what I mean? So hence, um, although decisions I have taken pathways completely impossible without others. And
Yeah.
others wouldn't be here without Jah, without the higher realm, without the higher me. And I the beer without all talented and wise people who I have met up with along the way pouring themselves into me. You know,
Yeah.
and being able to for me to find this place of expression. So I definitely decided to take that name because I don't think that any poem, any song, any kind of creative work that comes out of me is 100% me. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
I actually anything that's not me, yeah. So
Yep.
I that's why when I recite pieces, I always say Xgzabeher at the first not Xgzabeher with the X, that's my name. But the original word Xgzabeher is Igziabeher, right?
Yes.
So what I take the two I's and basically just cross them and put them at the front, and that's
Yeah.
how my I and my Monica came. You know what I mean? So yeah, Xgzabeher came about from that, and I cannot begin to tell you how much fight out me get for that name. They're like, my friends were like, no way. There's no way you're gonna be Xgzabeher under this. No way. Everybody was like, no, there's probably some watching this video right now. It's like, yeah, I was one of them that told him that no way, this is not gonna work. But I've never had a name. I've been searching for almost 2 decades for a name, right?
Yeah.
And I've never had a name that I've resonated with that much. And philosophically, sonically, everything about it, it just, you know what I mean, compliments I. So I just never look back. And
Yeah.
that's why the name Xgzabeher came about, you know what I mean?
I
Mhm.
I absolutely love that because I have been a fan of Peter Tosh, plus the whole of the Wailers, all of the Wailers. I've got tons of albums of their stuff here, and I grew up with their music, and I love their music. So that is a cool story, and I like that there's a nice, profound depth to how your handle came about. That really is cool. Um, you
Wow.
mentioned a couple of things. You are right. We Our work as poets or as writers is influenced by many others, including the creative, universal sort of creative force as well as our life, the environment we're exposed to. And then it's great that we can write about that and give it back to the people who have um, contributed to it by the very action of them being themselves. That really is amazing. The other thing you mentioned that in Jamaica, where you're grown up, that you're surrounded by creativity. I've got a couple other Jamaican friends who are living in Canada who are absolutely prolific writers, and I respect them to the utmost. They're the most beautiful people. You probably cross paths with them. Ramrock Speaks and Keneal Black. I've actually featured.
I know both of those people.
Yeah, you would, because they are very, very active on Instagram. They are based in Toronto, in Canada, and they do a lot. They got at least one or two live shows each week on Instagram. They run this Mosaic Mondays where they throw prompts, and two absolutely beautiful souls. I've featured them individually on this show, and then I had them together. They were
What?
childhood friends in Jamaica, and then they resumed that friendship as adults when they migrated to Canada. So, and
Yeah,
the creative vein that seems to be inherent in the Jamaican people, that's amazing. Really is.
yeah. And I mean, me personally, I have no creative people in my family. I have no artists, no writers, no painters, no anything. So if the narrative of who I was to become was to be based that, oh, I grew up and my dad taught me this and my uncle and my cousin, that wasn't happening for me. So that's why it's so apparent to me, I think, that there is such a prolific energy in the people around here. Like they you can't go anywhere and not see art. To give you an example, when I was going to high school, everyone was an artist. My math teacher was an artist.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't know the double lives that people live until you go to a studio and you're like, you go to the studio, you see the taxi driver that's been bringing you home for the last 5 years. You sit in his car, he brings you home, you pay him. You have no idea he's a songwriter. You have no idea he's a recording artist until you do, and you're like, wait, this whole time? And then all of a sudden, you and him have this whole different dimension of a relationship. And this happens, the person in the cook shop, the person
Yeah.
that works there, the police officer. Everyone has this double persona. And I think me being particularly acute or aware of it is because I was on that journey. I have not at the time I had not discovered what I would want to pour myself into, but I was just enamored by the very presence of creativity all around me. Really inspiring. extremely inspiring environment to grow up in. Yeah, I gotta say.
So you started off with music. Do you still sort of write music or?
All right, how it actually went is I started off with poetry, flip, went into music for about 15 years. I did not write a poem for about 15 years. So I'm 16, 17 thereabout. I did not really start writing poetry until probably 29, 30 years
Uh-huh.
old. And it's as if I rediscovered it at that age because when I was a kid, one thing that two things in particular. One, I had nothing to write about. I had no experiences of anything. I had no profound wisdom to share with anyone. I was just singing about my life as a 12-year-old kid. So that was one thing. Um, the second thing is that I never knew any poets that were famous at the time,
Hmm.
right? The artists in Jamaica being as prolific as there is, Vibes Cartel releases a song every 3 days.
Yeah, yeah,
Like, that's like a bad 3 days. It's every 2 days on an average, right?
yeah,
Like these extremely prolific people, they're releasing music every day and they are well known, respected, accepted in society. But at the time, I don't know any poets. Poets aren't play. I don't hear any poetry on radio, but I'm hearing these songs on radio, and I knew I had the lyrical acumen. You know what I mean? So I was like, all right, jump over. I mean, it was such a case that when I attended high school, there was this instance where all the high schools gathered little, gathered lyrical teams, and everyone and go to the studio, and they would sing a song, dissing the other school, and then that other school would, you know what I mean, and like it was an era for me where trading lyrical blows was, you know what I mean, the thing of the day, the order of the day, and I very much believed in my ability to do so. So I said, all right, I'm going over to the music side. And it also helped that, look, my friend around the road, he's an artist. A block away, my friend has a studio. Down the end of the road after that studio is another studio. So, you know what I mean? I'm in the music space on a regular. I'm not in a space where I have folks around me. I'm in a space where a lot of musicians, a lot of artists are around me. So the influence, which is again why I said I lend it the I would give the praise of who I am today to the environments that have shaped me. And at that point in time, music, artists around me was dealing with music. There was a point in time I was self-teaching myself guitar. You know
yeah,
what I mean? And then all my friends bought a guitar. I was the first one to buy a guitar. Then my best friend buys a guitar. Then my other friend buys a guitar. We're all here trying to pluck this thing and figure out what these sounds are. You know what I mean? That's just how it evolved. And as I said, after 15 years, I wasn't writing poetry. I returned to it in what seemed like the most matter of fact way. It was just all of a sudden I met my wife currently, and we went on a trip. I mean, we weren't together at the time; we were friends. But at the end of that trip, I remember I was having a conversation, and she was mentioning, "Oh, a long time when I write poetry," and I'm like, "Poetry? What do you know about poetry?" And then I'm reaching back in my mind to when I was nice at poetry. You know what I mean? I was real good at, and I'm like, "All right, let's do a poetry thing." We say, let's send poetry. You know what I mean? Let's send poetry to each other day after day, and we'll be able to see. You know what I mean? Give me a
yeah,
second there. I think there's some noise coming in. And she sent that first poem, Rainier, and headshot, headshot. Slapped my head off. I'm like, what is this? Like it was such a depth of descriptiveness, and it was just like I forgot what poetry was. Is what I realized in that
yeah,
moment. Till
yeah,
this poem. And then I was like, I can't drop the ball. No, I gotta write something, with the rustiest pen you've ever seen. You know what I mean? Trying to pen something, and the challenge of trying to make something worthy made me realize, oh man, I was really good at this at some point. You know what I mean? we continued for a few days, and then we have to resume back life. That's not a sustainable. But poetry stuck with me, and that was in about 2021, right? Still in COVID, and Clubhouse was the thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I had a friend that was like every 2 days he was like, "You join Clubhouse yet? You join Clubhouse yet?" I'm like, I'm not a social media guy, right? I don't. I, that's not gonna happen. All right. It so happened that I stepped in one day, went around a few rooms, found a poetry room, and I'm like, poetry. Poetry happens here, and no turning back. Started joining rooms left, right, center at every hour of the day. It was almost, that clubhouse addiction that happens when you first get on there. But it
Yeah.
was just, I was addicted to not only the spaces, but the poets and the words that they shared. And what was like an appetizer with me doing that lyrical trade with my wife, I dive now into a swimming pool of lyrics and metaphors and expressionism. And there was just no turning back after that. So at this point, I just came off a 15-year hiatus from writing, and I'm starting now to write poetry again, trying to find a voice in this form. Um, I believe your question before was if I still do music. I I've written a whole lot of songs that I just have somewhere. Um, that's a remarkable thing too. I've written so much, but have shared none of what I've written. Oops, my bad. I've written so much, but I have shared virtually almost none of what I've written in here. So let me fix this camera real quick. So what happens is that I have all this material, and I'm sitting there to myself and say, how am I gonna put myself out there? And that's where the idea for the book came about. I'm like, what's this book gonna be about? All right, nature. I'm gonna base it on nature. You know what I mean? And it took me like 4 months to write the book. you know, like there's this remarkable power in intentionality
Yeah.
and knowing what. Uh, as I discover it more, I'll be able to reveal more about it in life. But I just find that knowing what I wanted to do, I was able to pursue it almost obsessively until I completed it. Um, I finished writing the book in about October 2021 after making the decision to do so in about June, July of the same year. And the book wasn't released until 4 years after I finished writing. Um, because I think I shared with you as well. There's this problematic nature to myself where I tend to try and just self teach myself everything.
Mm.
Anything my interests. So even in that hiatus from poetry, I taught myself graphic design. I taught myself 3D animation. You know what I mean? I taught myself video editing, color grading. I taught myself so many things, and found that I've developed this acumen as a visual artist as well. You know, so in the book I was like, hey, I have to interplay this visual artist part of the whole thing, and I came up with the idea to build symbology around each poem.
Mm.
That's why each poem has a symbol. I had no idea I would have ended up taking off 2 years to study symbology before I
Yeah.
started. But I started studying ancient civilizations. The Incas is one of significant importance to me because the first great Incan king was also famous for being a poet. And that's particularly important because the Incas had no written language.
Yes.
You know,
Mm. Mm.
had to have, and he used to do epics, like poems that last forever, and it all had to be from up here.
Yeah.
So, yeah, did the symbology, designed my book cover, and really took the time to edit, tweak, refine until um, Utterances by Nature came into the fore. Uh, yeah,
I
so
love the title, Utterances by Nature. That's beautiful. As Tasha writes, with fire mentioned in her comments, songs have the elements of poetry, right? They're so intertwined, you know. So I'm pretty impressed the fact that you started writing even music or poetry, music at such a young age, too, which is great because I know when I was that age, I was too busy out there with physical activity. I'm really touched by people who start writing from very, very young ages. When I was sort of 12, poetry was the furthest, or writing was the furthest thing from my mind. It was, yeah, so that's pretty cool. Um, do you still get the inkling to write music as well?
Yeah, because I mean, in that period where I wasn't writing poetry, I mean, for me, and I think the reason why I started writing so young, um, I was a fairly quiet kid. You know? I never shared the pressures and the stressors that I was going through,
Mm.
and it was that only method of catharsis sometimes. You know.
Yes, yes. I think it's
It,
beautiful if you can get in touch with that emotional, deeper side of ourselves at a young age. I think that's beautiful and really helps in the formative years in making us who we are as a, so. Um,
definitely. So yeah, you know, you had asked if I still write music.
yeah,
Um, Here's the thing. It seems that I've made this switch to poetry, right? I still do write music. But 90% of the time, when I guess hits with, I don't know what you call it, stimuli or whatever it is in the world that inspires you to write, right? In times past, it was always a song, it was always a melody. And when my mind that to appreciating and understanding the power of this art form that I put down for so long, I right? It takes the form of a poem. It does.
your your audio seems to be breaking up a little bit. I keep losing words.
Sorry about that. Are you hearing me now?
Yep, yep, yeah,
Yeah, all right. So what I was saying is, yeah, no, about 95% of the time when inspiration does strike, it comes in the form of a poem.
yeah,
I
yeah,
think subconsciously, the art form that you respect and pull on the most, I think your subconscious kind of writes poem, writes for you in the background while you're processing real life. And how you perceive that art form is how your mind acts in accordance. So I
yeah.
think I can add new songwriting up here. This is the ultimate of everything. And then when I really understood what poetry was
Mm,
at age like my late 20s to 30s, right? My mind shifted and kind of built up an affinity towards crafting in the background poetry
mm.
and line. You know what I mean? Because as I said, when I was younger, I came to a point where I'm like, man, poetry is just words, man, and you know, nobody's gonna go to a party to listen to a poet. You know what I mean? Um, Imagine how mistaken I was. You know?
Oh, times have changed. Like in my city in Melbourne, in Australia, where I live, pretty much every night there are open mic events, and there's probably anywhere between 40 to 80, 100 poets there waiting to recite and so forth. Pretty much every night.
What did I say? All right, I need to get over there then.
Oh,
I need to get over there.
the uh, love to showcase some of your work to the world. Do you want to recite some of your pieces from your books, and we can talk about them,
Okay.
or any?
Question.
Doesn't have to be,
Question.
but anything of your favorite. Because I'm really intrigued because I know you get inspired by nature, and I think that is very much understated. Because we live in nature, we are nature, we should be inspired by it, right? So I know in your bio you said, where all the human emotions, like how the love, the purpose, our thought, everything is can be seen within nature, and that's so true.
Absolutely. Question. I think I'm gonna definitely start off with a piece from the book.
Yep.
I can go outside the book, right? Because
You go
it's
wherever you like, my friend. The objective of this show and why I do it,
Mhm.
poets, through our poetry and through our discussions, we share aspects of life that somebody in some corner of the world who's probably that child who's lost their parents or that person who's just broken in a relationship has no other avenue to go, and they happen to hear our conversation or hear the recitals from the featured guests, and any of the expounding that comes from that, that can be the words that they have at that moment when they got nothing else. And it could be the thing, one word, one line, one conversation that could make them step away from that bridge of jumping. You know?
that, that's
Because
true.
I
That
lost
is
my father when I was very young, and I grew up through my adolescence and all finding my own way through because I couldn't let my mother in even close. I loved her through a wall for fear of loss. So I found my way through different cultures, through wild times, through racism, through time of the gangs in the 70s, 80s. I found my way through there as an individual on my own because I could not let anybody else in close to help me for fear of loss. So I try to, through these shows, through our conversations, you might say one line that could save a life in some corner of the world.
yeah. I mean, that's the weight of responsibility
Yeah.
of a poet.
So this is why I don't have any prescribed direction that I want the show to go. This is all about whatever the featured guest is comfortable of showcasing of themselves. I let the divine hand guide the conversations where they go. For
All right.
what transpires in our conversation could be what somebody needs in some corner of the world.
I agree with you right there, Rainier. Um, it's funny. I like Clubhouse and in other spaces. I've shared some poems, and it's almost amazing how you will never be able to tell what is going to come back at you after you let out a poem. You'll never be
100%.
able to tell the nature, the intensity, the how much gratitude is given for what you've said. And yeah, you're right. And of course, Xgzabeher said, "Let the divine hand guide the show for real."
So you feel free to take this wherever you share or whatever you wish of yourself for the world, because I want people to know this man, Delbert Cespedes at Xgzabeher, this is his work. This is his work. If it resonates with you, reach out if it can help you in any way, right? That's
All right, awesome. So all right, I'm definitely I'm going to read from the book. I'm going to start with a piece from the book, and we're talking about the divine hand. So this piece is entitled Masterpiece. Xgzabeher. What if God was a tree? Would it be easier to see that we are all leaves? And so the tree leaves and ceases to do so the moment the last leaf withers and falls to the ground. In that, truth abounds. You see, the leaves need the tree, and the tree needs the leaf. The reason why existence agonizes over our every breath, and as I skip, uh, is because it's feeding a mind curious to find what if God was the rain falling down on all of us. Can you look between the drops to see they are us? Drops crashing into life, souls sown into earth, forming puddles, forming pools and rushing rivers, bursting their banks and flowing through life's stream, swimming, diving into this divine flow, which makes us inquisitive enough to want to know and wonder, what if God was the ocean? Then you would have seen that we are the waves, that we are not slaves to higher forces that force us into submission, but the embodiment of divine ambition, ebbing and flowing in a poised rhythmic dance. It's not by chance that nature's beauty finds words wanting. The poet strives to make a dent in its enigma, only to find that we're all entangled within it, beyond our limits, beckoning the question, what if God was the universe? Then is it clear to see that we are the stars, that we are the cause and the effect, the timid darkness and the glorious light, our energies becoming the gravity that pulls manifestation into earthly existence, all in the instance when our spirits, minds, and bodies begin to fold into divine alignment, forming God's masterpiece as a piece of the master. Xgzabeher.
That that's very profound, and it really. I was smiling to myself because that aligns so much with my own beliefs and the way I see life, the way I see the other dimensions. The it isn't a. You're right. We're not enslaved to a higher power. We are part of that higher power.
Very much so.
Right? We are a direct reflection of that, and through the physical experience, we expose that divine spark within us. Be it the leaves to the tree, and be it the waves to the ocean, exact, or the stars to the universe. 100%. Without those stars, without those bits, that whole creative force is not there.
Mm-hmm. Very much so. And I mean, I personally, I guess, been through a lot of experiences to make me see it that way. But I'm just really grateful that I was, um, the higher power, your higher forces themselves were enabled me to express that in the way I was able to. Because I really like that. I love that piece, man.
Yeah. That is a very powerful piece, and it's very digestible. And interestingly, any Orthodox religion you take, they say the same thing, except they had to show that higher power that humanity is enslaved to for the survival of that body of the church, of the Orthodox religion. They had to have this power to
Mm-hmm.
put fear,
Yeah.
right, for their survival.
Organized religion. I mean, we could go into the whole religion, spirituality reasoning.
Yeah.
Uh, but organized religion, I think, by nature of it having to be organized,
Yes.
there has to be actual physical things put in place to say, hey, that when you see that thing, that's God. When you hear that thing, that's God. And it's not an innate, extrasensory kind of picking up of what's going on. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
like you're told what God is and what you should expect when you're in communion or in interaction with God. And I used to be a really deep in the church person in your life. This is someone who used to be an evangelist. I used to travel all over Jamaica preaching the gospel. And between the ages of 17 to 21, that was me.
Yeah.
Right? Completely zealous, completely trying to read off every page in the Bible, trying to find, to study to show myself approved and all of that. But really, um, I find that organized religion, even though it's trying to create a tangible way to get to the higher force or to get to God, we we have to look across the aisle and say, hey, they're doing it wrong. You know, look over
Hmm.
there. There's that religion. There's the Muslims over there. Oh, we're right and they're wrong. And And then separation is created. And then there's even more separation because, look, I'm Seventh-day Adventist and you're Baptist and you're wrong and I'm right. And there's so much separation that is bred as a result of the organized religion's way of trying to approach God, that I think me as a person just kind of realized that, look, there's no way I can be so against those set of people who also say they're for God, and I am for God. You know what I mean?
Mm.
So I think
Mm.
disassociating myself and trying to find God in everything around me was a path I took throughout my whole 20s. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And I mean that's where the work comes from. It's by
Yep.
realizing, and a huge thing that helped me out is, even though I self taught myself graphic design and I was a poet, my actual formal education was in electrical engineering.
There you go.
So I had a lot of insight from physics, math. I went so deep in math, as in electrical, you have to go up to calculus 4, and then
Yep.
you start to do complex analysis and all of that stuff. And what university gave to me, even though I didn't go on to pursue a career as an engineer, my 3 4 years in engineering school gave me a working knowledge of the world. Right? I never did chemistry in high school, but in order to do my bachelor's, I had to do advanced proficiency chemistry on both levels in 1 year. So I
Yep.
had to force chemistry into myself. And when you go through inorganic chemistry and organic chemistry, and you see every living thing is made of carbon, as an
Yep.
example, right? Every a plant, whether it be fungus, algae in the ocean, me, you, every single part of that has carbon as the central element in their being throughout the universe, right?
Yep.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, that in itself was a revelation to me. Like, how are we all not one? You
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
In the book, I have another piece, a piece entitled "Water,"
Yes.
where that's definitely that's the subject matter I tackle in that piece
Yeah.
as well.
I mentioned Ramrock Speaks before, and he's joined the room. So there you go. He's in the room.
Pick up yourself, Ramra. Straight. Yes, I. Glad to
You,
hear.
interesting. You mentioned you went down the path of electrical engineering. And I went down the path of mechanical engineering, and I still remember the days of calculus, man. I loved maths. I love physics. I love chemistry, but calculus. Oh man, that was that was just another dimension.
I guess it was. To be honest, half the stuff I learned, I never kind of really understood it on a deep level until after I left engineering school, right? But because I held the knowledge, I guess. Like for instance, do you remember in calculus 3 the topic called the Laplace transform?
Mm, mm.
You remember the Laplace transform, right? Now, to me, when you're in the course, you just have to figure out how to work these problems and find the differential equation out of this or whatever, whatever, whatever. And while I was there, that's just it. The technicalities. But when I was able to step away from it, you kind of realized that the whole topic of Laplace transform is to change things from the time domain to the frequency domain.
Yeah.
And then you get to realize that the inverse of time is frequency. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And it's so easy to apply that to things you see
Yes.
in every day. You know what I mean? So I mean that's what I mean when I say getting a working knowledge of the world. Because before engineering school, the world was like black box. Everything was magic.
Yeah.
Wi-Fi was, planes flew by magic. And then going through and finding out that, look, there are actual sound physics and chemical principles that enable this, right? It kind of reveals to me, not one would say it would reveal to you, oh, everything is just explained. What it reveals to me is everything is so well thought out and organized.
Yes.
It
Yes.
cannot be by accident, right?
Yeah.
Everything is organized.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can see with my inquisitive mind for why does everything happen, why I was passionate with physics and then later chemistry. I wasn't that much of a passionate with chemistry as I was with physics, but I actually scored better grades in chemistry, believe it or not, whereas going down the field of mechanical engineering, it was all physics, right? And yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, the reason I was so close to chemistry is because I suddenly had to do 2 units of advanced proficiency chemistry in a year, and I've never done chemistry in any capacity,
Yeah.
right? So I don't know what a beaker is or a Bunsen burner, but
Yeah.
suddenly I had labs where I had to distill crystals from two different liquids and all sorts of stuff. So I kind of went hard with chemistry. I had this habit whenever I was on the bus heading or from school, I was in a chemistry book, my chemistry notes. I built that habit. And
Yeah.
so I really poured a lot into the chemistry thing. And it was really intriguing, things that you know nothing about seem extra intriguing.
Yeah.
And as I say, it being able to explain so much of what's happening in the universe.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? I mean, we haven't even gone down to quantum physics yet, right? And look at what happens at the atomic level and even smaller than that and sees that, look, man, this can't be all just random coincidence.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Everything is perfectly organized and aligned.
Yeah.
So I guess the inspiration then lied with me to seek out the source of this organization. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? I'm still on that journey. And poetry is a tool that helps me to go along on that journey as well. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. You were going to read a piece called from titled Water.
Ah, definitely. Yeah, getting back into the book here. All right, so this is actually the longest piece in the book. So stick with me. Stick with me, people.
Floor is yours, brother.
All right. Water. 4/5 of man's physical vessel is made of water. And so his son, and so his daughter, chemical bonds keeping physical ones in balance, drip by drop. Water is many, yet one, a manifolding molecule that comprehends life's rules and becomes divinity's tool. The same drop that came to you through the bite of a fruit came to it through tree roots, sipping the earth, filled by clouds, sipping the sea, filling the earth, you and me. Does this not mean then that we are one in the same? When hydrogen bonds broken sent signals to our ears which allowed us to hear these words spoken. As swollen skies open to share these same drops with birds and mammal herds flowing through channeled nerves and pouring itself into life's cistern, flowing together as we fought through life's currents, feeling both the joy of playing in the rain and the pain as tears run down our cheeks. It tells the poet speak. Listen to what each drop claims. Water, in its simplicity, connects us all. It's a truth so plain that we can literally see it. So wisdom often wonders of connections we share that go unseen, that go unheard, beyond the perception of natural senses, soulful bonds seen only through spiritual lenses, the means to the ends is that our vessel contains much more than water, more than sorrow, more than laughter, more than questions, more than answers. The spiritual essence within us all preserves divine intentions in perfect conditioning, beckoning that we pour ourselves out into much more than vessels on shelves, into much more than heavens or hells. And if our stories tell the journey of our souls written in flesh, written in bone, written in sand, written in stone, written in water, written in spirit, then we shall all flow just the same. We'll rise with the tides, all to eventually fall with the rain, pouring the remains of our water back into the ocean and pouring the remains of our spirit back into each other. Xgzabeher.
I love how your mind works, and a lot of there's many writers that are influenced by nature to write, by events, by sunsets, by whatever. But you go to a very profound level, and I could almost feel your inner thought process
Mm-hmm.
just from water, just from the trees and the oceans before. It's a pleasure to meet you, to get across your work and to connect with your work and the person is there. It really is.
I
Um,
give thanks. I definitely, I'm thankful. I mean, this is my first interview since I released this book, you know. So I thank you as well. You know, what I mean, it really shows that the years of work, you know, it was not in vain. You know.
Man, as I said, as I say to all the featured guests, this is only the first time, it's not the last time. I really love connecting with people who write from a profound place. I really do. That means there's writers who write to show their talents with their with wordplay, with their vocabulary, with their talents in rhymes and so forth. I myself am more inspired by people who can align experiences, be
Mm-hmm.
be it events in life, be it to life itself, and how that can help us to in realizing about ourselves, to grow, to to really let that light shine that's embedded within us.
Very much so.
What you see here is just a transient sort of thing. This will be back to the dust sooner than later, right?
Very
But
much so. Very much
but
so.
but the light that's within us, if we can make that shine, and you are really your words and how you are your the depth of your writing that you get inspired from nature really does help to, if you were to look within and reflect on the words, it'll help us to show us where that importance and let that light shine through.
I hope so.
Oh,
That's
it does. It
that's
does. You know,
the intention.
and
Mhm.
I love the depth of, and yeah, really love the depth and your analysis on how you can relate water or events in nature into life. You can. There's a lot of parallels if we stop to look. There's endless parallels of life.
Very much so. Yeah,
Even
that
the
is true.
kingdom. If you were to touch on the animal kingdom, I mean that's a there's things that animals do, and we're meant to be the superior intellect that we're worse than the animals in the way we do it, right?
Mhm.
You,
Trust
for
me.
example, I do not know one animal that'll go and sodomize the dead of its kind, but fucking humans do, right?
Yeah, there's the inherent weight of responsibility that has to come with the level of consciousness that we have
Yes,
as humans. I
yes,
think we have the opportunity of being the most conscious beings on earth,
yes,
right?
yes,
Uh, and I guess if we mismanage that consciousness, we can go down some really dark places.
yes,
You know, I
uh,
mean,
and
if I were to share my personal belief right here, I think we all have a purpose, right?
yes,
Because we've all come here, we've all seen different experiences that shape who we are in different ways, right? And because of that, we're able to bring out different parts of the universe that may be shielded to others. And I mean, that is why I think I always say this, right? My spiritual journey began with myself. Everyone's spiritual journey begins with themselves, but it ends with the entire every living thing in the universe. And in the middle of that is all of humanity. You know what I mean? So like the journey, sure, I have to know myself. I have to try and figure out, all right, I have to get my metacognition on and try and figure out why am I triggered if I'm triggered? Why am I angry if I'm angry? Whatever the case is, I need to find a way to know how I function to such a deep level that when other people come across your path and you agree with them and you know what I mean, there's all this tussle, I have to understand that that person is also God. A portion of God is that person. And me saying, hey, get rid of that person or whatever the case may be, would never be the predominating spiritual advice that I should take because, look, I know that you, on the other hand, end of this call is God. Rainier. It's a part of God in you, as in me, as in all 9 people on this live stream, right? And I mean, operating from that place of consciousness, I know that, look, people are going to do you wrong. People are going to hurt their people. But I don't think you can discard any portion of humanity indefinitely. You know what I mean? And still say you're on this spiritual journey. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like, you have to circle back to them at some point. You know what I mean?
100%.
Yeah, yeah.
And
And I heard this advice from some gurus that I might study. They always say use people you can't agree with for your spiritual growth. you know, if you can find a way to, you don't have to be like friend or whatever with them. But if you can find a way to coexist in balance with them, even if they don't like you at all, then that only builds your spiritual growth and your spiritual sense of self, bringing you closer to that God frequency. In my opinion.
you spoke earlier of the interconnectedness. As a matter of fact, in both my books, you'll see that same thread. The other
Uh,
person, whatever they are to, whether they're friend or foe or lover or enemy, they are there in that interaction, however long that interaction or that part there in my life. It's the act or the event, the relationship means nothing other than what it means acting as a mirror to reflect to me,
mm-hmm.
like that person who stole from me. As you said, does that make me angry? Then how do I? It gives me an opportunity to master that anger,
Mm-hmm.
to release
And
it away.
you're right. You're right. There's something that happens to me. I don't know if it happens to you. Maybe you can verify. Have you ever like ran up into someone that has the same bad habits that you have?
Yes, yes,
And it annoys you to all hell. You're like, I'm just like this person, and this is triggered me to such a degree that it makes you look into yourself, and you're like,
yeah,
am I really like that? Do I really do that? For
yeah,
instance, if you're someone that's late all the time, and then you're meeting with someone and they're like 2 hours late, and you're like, oh,
yes,
traffic and whatever, and you're like, how can you be like this? But then
yes,
you're like this to
yes,
other people. So that what you just said about them being a mirror, I totally resonate with that
yeah,
because I've woke up with people who are the same like me, and it brings such a deeper place of introspection within myself because I've encountered you. Sure, it's a completely turn off experience, but
yeah.
I was able to salvage something from it where I was able to look into myself and be like, "Whoa, I need to change." I mean,
The I've actually found through my mature old life, um, some of the best opportunities, some of the best gifts I got were from people that I met along the way that stood for everything that I was against, e.g., racism, e.g., bullying, this sort of stuff. They actually gave me the best opportunities to overcome my own weaknesses. For example, I was in my teen years, growing up in the 70s, there was racism, and bullying and etc. that I stood against, and I fought a lot, and I was enjoying it because I fought for justice. I never fought for injustice, for the hell of it, but I always fought for to bring balance, to bring justice. But I was well on my way to a prison or ending up under somebody's knife. But events in my life that happened where these people helped me to overcome my that anger, the violence, and learn to turn the other cheek. The reason I'm alive here today talking to you is because of the opportunities those people, they stood for everything I was against. If I was to describe them, they're probably the biggest assholes on earth that I've ever met. But they gave me
That's true.
the best opportunity to overcome my weaknesses, my lack of strength to walk away from trouble, my lack of strength to control when I saw injustice. Like if I saw a rape or a child molesting, the anger that I had, I literally was judge, jury, and executioner. I wouldn't be here. I'd be in a prison or dead by now. But it's
Oh,
because
mm.
of these people, the opportunities they gave me, I'm sitting here at 65 years of age talking to you.
Right. And you never really know what others will teach you.
Yes.
I mean, that's why I guess biblically it's always been sound advice to not be a respecter of persons, because you see someone pull up in a Porsche and you're like, oh, he can do so much for me, but that person really can't do anything for you.
Yeah.
And then there's a man sitting on the sidewalk
Mm.
and he can literally change your life if you allow that experience to take root. You know what I mean? Just an interaction, and you'll probably be exposed to something that will spark in your subconscious, and that person sitting on the street corner can
Mm.
literally change you. But the person in the Porsche, with the skyscraper or whatever, they can do nothing to teach you
Yeah.
anything on your spiritual journey. You know?
Some of the best memories I have from childhood even came from people who did not know where their next meal was coming from. They lived in mud huts. They didn't know where their next meal was coming from. But still, they had a smile on their face, and some of the best memories. When in need, those were the people that were by my side, by my family's side,
Hmm.
not the ones with the Porsches. Not those people.
That is that, and I mean, I know poverty is like this scourge, right, across humanity. Um, but there's something I notice in places where there's lack of resources. There's abundance of humanity where
Mm.
there is lack of resources, because that's all we have left.
Yes.
In Jamaica, I see that a lot.
Yeah.
I I remember it's I can't even say it's a particularly unique thing, but you always, when you were younger, and let's say it's summer vacation, everyone always brought one item to a friend's house and we all cooked one pot. You
Yeah.
call it run a boat. When they say, yo, you gonna run a boat? It's like, yeah. What I go up on the boat? Flour,
Yeah.
chicken back, mackerel, whatever the case may be. That sense of being a part of something greater, you know what I mean? That village mentality. Um, it grew me, and it pervades my culture, the culture of my people. You know what I mean? The deeper and into let's say the most what's the word I'm looking for? The deeper you go down the socio-economic ladder
Yes.
and resources that is there, it is the brighter the spirits of the people are.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
a person that has $12 million in the bank may not want to share the dinner that they have on their stove with you. But
Yeah.
someone who the only thing they have is that dinner
Yeah.
will say, "Put up a chair. I'll share you half of what I have."
Yeah.
In, in
100%. 100%. I spent the first 13 years of my life seeing people where, as I said, they wouldn't know where their next meal came from. But if you happened to walk into their house and they had sat down to eat dinner and they had two slices of bread, they shared that with you.
yeah, Definitely so. I mean, right now, how the world is running, Rainier, I think we're expected to give up on humanity.
Yeah.
That's the thing that's expected. But I want to tell you a story. October 28th, that just passed. Jamaica got hit by the most powerful hurricane ever
Mm,
recorded in the Western Hemisphere. Category 5, 185-mile-an-hour winds.
mm,
It was crazy, right? It was crazy. And I have a poem. I have a poem I wrote about that.
mm,
But I remember the most profound weight of sadness you can think of
mm, mm.
pervading everybody in where I am. I didn't even lose electricity. I didn't lose
Yeah.
internet. I was on where we are over here on the side closer to Kingston, Spanish Town, virtually untouched. Virtually
Wow.
untouched. Rain fell, you know what I mean, and that was about it. We had a couple of days home. We watched movies, whatever the case. We were on the internet, whatever. The other end of the island was pure, indescribable devastation happening at the same
Yeah.
time. And when everything passed and everyone on this side was aware what happened on that side,
Yeah.
there was this period of just, as I said, the most profound sorrow.
Yeah.
I saw I was passing people watching the floodwaters on their phone and tears were just falling down their eyes.
Mm.
Aunts, cousins, everyone. That's where the word survivor's remorse must have been Googled a whole lot of time in Jamaica
Yeah.
after the passing of Melissa because we felt guilty for surviving.
Mm. Mm.
You know what I mean? And what happened after that was one of the most beautiful things. I don't think, and I sincerely hope, because basically the news outlets that were here, international news outlets, they were really in the business of fear mongering. You
Yeah.
know, the most powerful storm in ever, and whoa, we're gonna make the biggest deal out of this.
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
but I remember watching those news reports when the storm was still out by sea, when it took that 3 days out there charging up to Category 5. And I remember the anxiety. It was so thick you could cut it with everyone. We were like, is it here? Is it coming? And then hearing on the news, everyone, there's no chance of survival. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? And you're here with your child and your wife and hearing there's no chance of survival. I don't think the callous nature and the sheer amount of disempathy that happened with I would say foreign news media before Hurricane Melissa. You had no idea the stress that they put on our hearts.
Yeah. Yeah.
No idea. No idea. But
Mm.
goes to the point I was making. The most beautiful thing was the civil response. I mean, within an hour, 2 hours of the storm passing, people got in their cars. They got every bottle of water they could find, every tin of mackerel, every tin of corned beef, every loaf of bread, and they head to the west of the country.
Yeah.
Every and then before I knew it, every artist that I used to listen to, remember I used to tell us Melissa Vibes Cartel, you know what I mean, as a youth. Vibes Cartel adopted an entire orphanage in one of the heavily affected, one of the most heavy hitted parishes. He
Yeah.
brought all the artists, whether it be music, whether it be dancing, whatever the case may be, they all said it, they went dipped into their own pockets.
Yeah.
Shaggy.
Yeah.
Shaggy was here 5 hours after the storm on a private jet,
Mm.
full of supplies. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? And getting to the people. I I knew our motto is one love, you know what I mean? Out of many, one people, one love. And I knew all of that was, what we believed in. But seeing that after such devastation, I saw that in humanity.
Mm.
I saw giving. I personally know people empty their bank accounts, empty,
Mm.
going to the supermarket to buy stuff just to go down there and give it away.
Yep. Yep.
I mean, I just
Like,
and to my original point where I said, we're expected to give up on humanity
yep.
nowadays based on what's happening in the world. But if you look close enough, there has been no greater reason to believe in humanity than now.
Yep.
Yeah.
Where I live, we are prone to a lot of bushfires. We're prone to floods.
Mhm.
The land down under it can be pretty harsh. Most of it's desert, right? And I find and Australia was built by
Mhm.
convicts and rejects from the United Kingdom, and we got this comradeship that if you are happy to try and help yourself, people will help you and walk 10 steps for you. And with their fires, with their disasters that we're constantly faced with, be it cyclones, up north of the continent, they
Mhm.
cyclones and floods and so forth.
Mhm.
Down south, where I am, we've got a lot of bushfires and so forth. But it's amazing, like
Mhm.
natural disasters just seem to bring out the best in people, and people do when they don't have just they'll go out there, they'll sandbag to protect people from floodwaters, to protect their homes. They'll get out there, risk their lives and fight fires, intense bushfires like that are rampant, but we're there helping each other out.
Very, very much so. And I know Australia is no joke right here. I know that's like the final boss. you know, we're turning. So,
But it
um,
really brings people, and as you said, really showcases that the humanity that exists, the links, the connection that exists between people as humanity. It does bring out that. Uh, and
does it very
there's no disasters. People just seem to just go about their lives, right? But yeah.
yeah, trust me. Um,
Now we've got
again,
about 50 minutes because I've got to keep the show to 2 hours only because otherwise I lose the second half. From this, when I post this, I'll add you as a collaborator. Besides that, in the next week, I'll create a YouTube of it as well, and I'll create a Spotify podcast as well, for which I'll share the links that you can use any which way you like. So
I'll,
if it goes over 2 hours,
okay.
archive video seems to get clipped, and then I've got to do screen recordings, which is not the nicest. So we've got about 50 minutes left, and I'd love to showcase more of your work.
All right, definitely. Um, we just touched on a topic of before where we spoke about, I guess, people in our lives that
Yep.
we might have opposition, but they help us to grow. I have a love poem in the book. Um, it's not a love poem because it's more so about two people who love each other, but they are like fire and water. you know what I mean? And we all know people we all know relationships that are like that.
Yeah.
So this seed is this piece is entitled "Sea and Shore."
CN?
Shore,
Right.
sea and shore. All right. Xgzabeher. The firmament of his resolve intrigues her. And though they clash and she crashes into him, there he remained, unmoved, and she remained unstopped. The waves of emotion that is her affection complements his stillness with unrelenting movement as they ebb and flow like violins bow being pulled, playing sonnets that serenade heartstrings and deeper things inside them both. Her untethered energy pouring into his well to make sure all is well. As tidals swell, as they set sail, her current is never ending. In her love is found. Her clouds swell with joy, eager to visit his heart's oasis. Loving rivers, bursting banks, refreshing hills and valleys, their love keeps them flowing, pouring out such divine energy. Her depth inspires the heights that he aspires for. pushing upwards as if to grasp the sun itself between their earthen fingers. Such ambition pulls her towards him, as their affection pulls them into each other. A dance they've persisted in ever since they first realized that they were not one. A dive as deep as depth itself, beyond measure, their inner treasures laid undisturbed. And now they adorn each other's souls. They find comfort in the eye of their storm. For there is no growth where there is no resistance. He keeps her foundation firm, and she shapes him in return, back and forth, dancing together since time began, and have learned to understand that their differing natures are their greatest features. Together, they are free and so much more, like sun and moon, like sea and shore. Xgzabeher.
The whole essence of a emotional bond, oh, everything, even friendships, even business relationships, captured so well. It's a two-way street, right? All
Yeah,
of life, you know. The next person I meet on the street, again, is that give and take, the sharing and the learning from each other.
definitely. Just like the waves of the ocean, you know?
Yeah, yes. And exactly, just like those leaves on the tree, right? All the interconnectedness, the same relationship. I mean, the leaves give to that tree as the tree gives to the leaves.
Yeah, reciprocal.
Yes.
And I have another piece I have that really sums up a lot of what I say in these
Yeah.
poems. The poem I called Natural Order, Natural Law.
Yeah.
Um, where I really do speak a lot more on that give and take relationship,
Yeah.
you know what I mean, created by nature. Um, as soon as you're ready, I'll go into that one. But you know,
Go,
if you still have more,
go for it.
okay.
Before you
All
go,
right.
I've got to say, I love the cadence that you deliver your pieces in. Really allows plenty of time for the words, the power of the words to sink into the audience. I really love that cadence. Love to hear you live sometime, man, like in person. That's
Yeah.
phenomenal. Really good. Love
All
it.
right. All right. So you don't know me, I'll call you first when I come to Australia. It's me.
Done deal.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. You have to go bring me out to the open mic scene, you
For
know?
sure.
All right. So this piece is entitled Natural Order, Natural Law. Goes
Love
like Xgzabeher. Natural order, natural law. Natural order, natural law. Natural order, natural law. Natural order, natural law. Must come to pass each time Earth's distorted mass revolves around this ball of gas we call the sun. There's no judge, there is no gavel, yet still photons travel the greatest distance to separate darkness from light, keeping existence in balance. No balance sheets, no dotted line to sign, except for the signs that the skies dot with stars. Celestial bodies in concert, performing nightly pieces that harmoniously piece us all together. There's no suit, no warrant, no summons, compliance. For what nature requires, it receives no charge, no jury, no jail cell, though our blood cells carry the oxygen from a tree we have never seen, whose seed was planted by a bird it has never fed. And so too the blooming flower gifts the bees honey, its sweetness, yet never partakes thereof. And such is nature's beauty in unyielding abundance, giving its all. All is received, and so her scales remain evenly balanced. No eloquent lawyers needed to litigate how many drops the oceans have loaned to the clouds, nor the river's debt to the pouring rain. And the earth's thirst will be quenched again, and the grass of the fields will adorn her in raiment, as the streams offer her salt as payment. And thus the ocean's bounty is returned, flowing over and over and over in rhythm, no contracts to speak to when a mother's contractions brings our soul's experience into existence. Whether a lifetime or in an instance, wisdom will teach that love is all. And if all is in each, then as each becomes one, then none shall breach natural order, natural law, natural order, natural law, natural order, natural law, natural order, natural law. Xgzabeher.
It says it all. It says it all. All in a nutshell.
Yeah, as best as I can, you know.
We as humans, seem to think that we're masters of our destiny, but we are pawns within a bigger play, within that natural order and natural law. We are all part of that,
Mhm.
the dance of the cosmos, as I say. We are
Definitely.
we are the many actors within that dance of the cosmos.
Hmm. And we're here for what is equivalent to the universe's life, an instant, and then
Yes,
we're gone.
yes,
Mhm.
exactly, exactly.
We are not even a flash of light.
I have always, when I look back on my life, I always find if I was meant to do something, but I was too lazy to even be bothered to get off my ass,
Mhm.
things happened that I got my backside kicked and I was there. Similarly, if I really tried hard to get somewhere or to do something that I wasn't meant to do, no matter how hard I tried, it never happened.
Mm. As they say, they have a saying in Jamaica what they said, what is for you cannot be unfor you.
Yes.
What is for you cannot be un for you. You know what I mean?
Yep. Now, Britain writes poetry, put in a comment. Tell him to come to Curacao to watch you win the Caricon Poetry Slam. Tell me about this. You're in a poetry slam.
Oh, yeah, in Curacao, one of our Caribbean islands. CARICON is an organization is a US based organization in the LA, and they every year they host the CARICON Poetry Slam, where poets from all across the Caribbean compete, I guess, to be the champion of poetry of the Caribbean, so to
Wow.
speak. And I've of the 15 poets, I have been drafted as one of the poets, one of two poets representing Jamaica that will
Oh,
be in the slam. In on
congratulations.
yeah, I give thanks. It's almost it's so surreal, same way. You know what I mean? Like I remember submitting the video and submitting what they asked, and the deadline passed, and I never heard anything. So I was like, well, I guess I wasn't good enough, you know. And then an email comes in, and they're like, yeah, congratulations, you have made it to the final round of this competition in Curacao. And I'm like, I never been to Curacao. But the idea that poetry is taking me to new places, literally in the physical, is something that it's. I'm really elated at the very possibility of that, you know.
Congratulations, man. That is quite an honor. That really is. And really wish you well. And when is it?
It's March 21st.
March 21st. Sorry, Britain, I won't be able to make it there because on the 19th of April, I'm going to Nigeria for about three and a half weeks, going to hang out with our mutual friend. So I'll be in Nigeria.
Oh, you're a link up a daisy.
Yeah. So I
Yeah,
won't make March, but I wish you well with the slam, and I'd love to know the results and be in touch. As I said, I'm booked up till June. Man, who knows? You come out with some trophies. Love to hear about that whole event and how you went, because that's a great honour to be one of two people representing Jamaica, right? Because as you said, Jamaica is full of creatives, so that's a big honour, man. That really is.
I mean, trust me, I words cannot describe. And I remember earlier in our conversation, I mentioned some.
I've lost your audio. I lost your audio again. Yeah.
Are you hearing me now?
Yep, yep. Lost the
Yeah.
last sentence you said.
Yeah, I said I remember earlier in our conversation where I spoke on the intentionality
Hmm.
behind when you do things and how the universe responds to that. I mean, I had launched my book probably 4 weeks before I got news that I would be in this slam.
Oh wow.
And I think inside, I've, I don't think I know I've made the commitment to poetry. Remember, I told you, probably most of my life I wasn't writing poetry. I took 15 years break from it. But I am sure now. And upon its return, I am sure that this is what the universe chose to place within my vessel to preserve and to pour out to the world.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? I am very sure that this is the case.
yeah.
So,
Now,
um, in doing that, doing the book, did my launch, it's like things are coming together where poetry is concerned in a way where I've been doing graphic design and 3D animation for a decade. You
yeah,
know what I mean? It all feels like a fight. Fight for the next opportunity, and when that one happens, you fight for the other one. But it literally feels like the road is forming in front of me as I look out, and the farther I look is the more road I'm seeing rising up out of the rubble. You know what I mean? And it's amazing. And I mean, I just platforms like yours, I have to just tell everybody who I can, encourage everybody to do that inside work of finding your purpose,
yeah,
finding your talent, finding what the world lacks that only resides in you. You know, because
mm,
when you find that and you know what the purpose is and you know the direction, watch the universe collaborate with you.
yeah. The way oh, before I get sidetracked, tell people where they can get your book, Utterances of Nature, Volume One. Where can people
Okay.
get?
All right, so Utterances of Nature Volume 1 is available on Amazon. Type in either my name, Xgzabeher, or Utterances by Nature Volume 1. I've done a couple searches and it's almost the first thing that's going to pop up. Well, it's almost all the time the first thing that's going to pop up. So
Yeah,
Utterances, Utterances, Bynature, Vol 1. Utterances by Nature Volume 1. Search that in Amazon, and yeah, that's it. It's a great cover. Here's the cover. Yeah, so when you see this cover, you know this is it. It's it. And funny little Easter egg that I'll reveal on Rainier's show. Which is why I love also being the graphic artist that designs the cover. This is the symbology that I was making reference to, right?
yeah,
Each
yeah.
poem has a symbol behind it. Took me 2 years to craft these symbols, as simple as they look. You know what I mean? And in the cover, all 12 symbols are actually interwoven into the cover.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
yeah, and you know, when you buy your copy of the book, you can spend some time trying to find all those 12 symbols. I mean, the clue is that they are where, whatever the poem is about, they are in this image where you would expect it to be based on the poem that the symbol represents. But it's just not very clear for you to see. You really have to pay attention. But the 12 of them are there. They're there. I was
I
kind of hoping to
I
cover that
love
without
the
me.
depth that you put into it. Even that, even the cover. Most people go with aesthetics, off a cover, but I love that you put such thought and depth into the whole formulation of the cover. and stemming
I
from
mean,
the construct of the symbols in the book. That's amazing. Love that about you.
that's why it took the 4 years. I mean, I finished writing the poem, so to speak. Yeah, there were some
Time's only on your wrist, my friend. You know, time is only on your wrist. When things are meant to happen in life, they'll happen. Not before, not a minute after. When the time is right, things happen.
and I've just right now I'm just in a position of working with that divine timing. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Yeah.
You mentioned how everything's coming together after the book. I've found after the years of impetuous youth where I tried to make things happen, the latter half of my life, I've literally surrendered to the universe. I don't have many plans beyond tomorrow. I let what is to be be. If I was to describe that in nature, I don't know if you've ever been caught in a current when swimming in the ocean. I swim a lot in the ocean. And when you get caught in a current, that can take you out to deep sea. Now, in a panic, you try to swim against that current, you exhaust yourself and you drown. The only way to survive a strong current is you float on your back and let that current take you as far out as it wants to ocean. When it's spat out of the current, then you start swimming back to shore. Because if you try to swim against that current, you don't survive. And that's the same at life. It's no use trying to fight against life, the universal flow. Let the flow happen. And when you let that flow happen, it's funny how everything falls into place. As you said, the doors are opening. 4 weeks after you release the book, you get selected one of two people to represent your nation in this slam. And it's funny. A day's connected us, and you're on this platform, and who knows who can, between YouTube, between Spotify, between Instagram, who knows who will watch our interaction for a couple of hours and open other doors for you. We never know, right?
You never know, but I am telling them thanks in advance.
So,
I am much gratitude.
and I think you've mastered that very essence of learning from the simple things in life that are abundant around us, nature, and letting life be. Make the best of every opportunity that's given to you.
Very
Don't,
much so.
and that's exactly what you're doing, man. Those to me are the ingredients of a successful life. And success doesn't have to be in monetary terms. Success in your own fulfillment, in your joy, that inner peace, exposing that inner light of who you are, so that once we're dead and gone, people are still saying, hey, they're still reading your words of wisdom in your poetry. They're reading and learning from what you have enunciated from your inner thoughts in your writing.
Yeah, that's true. That is very true. And I mean, as you said, you never know who's gonna help you, right?
Exactly.
Um, I definitely feel like I need to mention these two organizations as a part of my journey. Because as you said, the door is opening, right?
Mm.
About a week, 2 weeks after doing my book launch, I was asked to be a part of a very focused group in Jamaica called Jaiku Professional Poets. It's an organization, a nonprofit that really their mission is to have poets be on the main stage, just the same as musicians. Being able to make a living from poetry, being
Mm.
able to know the right people, go along the right channels, present themselves in the right way so that their poetic craft can be brought as far as possible. And through Jaiku, I mean, it's not cheap to go to Curacao, you know what I mean? It's in the Caribbean, but it's cheaper to go to America than to go to Curacao, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? And Jaiku and more formally, the International Authors Forum has agreed to sponsor my trip, right? So I'm like, yeah, you're chosen to go to Curacao, but then how are you gonna actually get there? What about your accommodation? What about all of that? You know what I mean? And yeah, I was so worried about that. Like, oh, this is great, but how is this gonna happen? And I kid you not, after the first meeting with the organizing body for the slam, within an hour after the meeting, someone from Jaiku calls me and connects me with someone from the International Authors Forum. And we have a conversation, and they are agreeing to sponsor my trip.
That's
You know?
awesome. Mm.
So, like, I definitely feel like I need to mention big ups to Jaiku professional poets. They are really doing that work. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Bridging the gap and making things that you would think are impossible
Yes.
just a finger tap away. So I wouldn't want to go forward without bigging up both the Jaiku professional poets
Yeah.
and the Authors Forum. They're making this possible, and I won't let them down.
Yeah. Earlier on we had this conversation about with the intention of this show. You don't know who might hear it, and
Mhm.
yeah, but this conversation we've had in the last 5 minutes about surrendering and trust in the universe that what you need you'll get. This is what I was saying now. Somebody struggling there through destitute, wondering how the hell are they going to find the money to put their kids through education or whatever, or how are they going to feed their kids, whatever. This very conversation could be all the inspiration they need to trust that things will work out, right? This is what I was getting at with.
Yeah, like trust. You should trust,
Yes.
and that's what I'm saying. We're in a time where on the outside it seems as if we should give up on everyone,
Yeah.
but there's never been a greater need to believe in everyone. You know what I mean? To
Yeah.
believe in humanity.
Mm.
And I'm seeing first and foremost, and I will continue to do the work of distilling that into poetry
Yeah.
throughout the rest of my lifetime.
Yeah.
Def-
Amazing. Question before you get into your next piece. We've got about 25 minutes and I really want to get into some of your work. Do you have much opportunity in Jamaica where you can rehearse between now and the slam in open mic scenes where you can, do you get much opportunity to do?
All right, there is, and I mean especially now. February is Reggae Month in
All right.
Jamaica, and we found that there are a lot of events, live events everywhere, every day. You know what I mean? And then International Poetry Week is in March,
Mm,
the week of the slam, because the
mm,
slam coincides on International Poetry Day. So I do have a lot of opportunities, open mic, but I think the way I take it is I really sit down in the work. I take it's a 3 round slam, right?
yeah.
3 minutes. 3 round slam. I have 3 minutes. If I go over that 3 minutes, I'll be penalized by the judges. Um, so I have to pick 3 pieces. I've chosen those 3 pieces, and I have printed that out. I've binded that in a book, and I go nowhere without that book. And
Yeah.
at every moment, whatever the case may be, I'm waiting in the bank or whatever, I am going over the poetry. I'm doing my tonal mapping to make sure I'm making the right vibration come out at the right parts. And I'm just doing that work. That's it. Like,
Yeah.
I think the most I can do is really make sure that if you cut me right now, those 3 poems flow to me. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. As long as I do that, all I can do is leave the rest up to the universe.
Yes.
You
Brother,
Either it's good or it wasn't.
you are a beautiful soul, and I wish you all the very best in it, and I'm sure you will give it your best, and that's all that matters.
Oh yeah, man. Trust me, after what Jamaica has been through last
Yeah.
year, I need to bring back something.
Yeah.
Need to bring something for my people, trust me. And that trophy looks like the right something.
Let's take it away.
um all right, so I actually want to depart from the book right now.
Yep.
Um because this being my first body of work that's out, um nature based poetry, it is the bulk of what I do, but I do a lot of other poetry. You know what I mean? More true life experiential poetry. And I want to delve into some of that before
Yep. Yep.
the time is
Yep.
out.
20 minutes. Go crazy.
All right. So this first piece is entitled I Wrote. And, it's why I wrote. Everything I ever wrote. All right. Xgzabeher. And what did I do in the darkest of times, when I could not see the light between my three eyes, when I could not hear the waves by the seaside? Where did the mind of I and I find a place to reside that kept these senses alive? I wrote. The choice that I chose as life's waters rose above my head and went even above the clouds. And the moment I heard the sun sizzling out from my own darkness, I arose. And as I awoke, I wrote. The ink in my pen, a solution of my own blood and tears, the sweat of my peers, these words filling brushes that would smear splotches spelling splendence. Mental attendance to what inhabits my heavens, in times left unread. And when words are left unsaid, each verse will disperse an epistle scribed from ether, the physical embodiment of what my mind spoke. It played the melody's notes, and the lyrics evoked were the words that I wrote down in these threads of ink that held me up when I was at the end of my rope. In these bars, I found hope. And though some get irate, what I wrote was my faith, belief before beholding, born because I held the pen that folds the perspectives of pages into cosmic origami, enough words to stop the bullets in the weapons of an army. So surely in times of war, I wrote. It's what kept me afloat. When lost on life's ocean, my pen became the paddles to my boat. It became the spoon that stirred the potion that would bloom this gift to emote. So instead of tears, I leave pages soaked with a tempest of my own thinking, of scents of sweet incense, sent up in honor of I highest self. Or at least, I hope that with every stroke, as I wrote, I woke. Xgzabeher.
So profound, man. So profound. So much depth to it. And your pieces, I think every time someone was to read the same piece, each time it'll trigger off different thoughts
Hopefully,
and reflections, right?
the plan. That is the intention.
Yeah.
Um, that is the intention to layer them. So you're in here. I just going to rapid fire some pieces in the end
Sure,
if you don't
sure.
mind.
Go for it. Yep.
You know, some of these pieces I have never actually recited before, so there's a backlog of work that needs to get out there, but we'll get there. This live is the first place. So this piece is entitled "Will," right? Xgzabeher. Will I wait? Will I wait? Well, will is what we willeth it to be. Willingly, how history becomes a well for the will of men who didn't see their own until long after someone read their will. Flesh has departed, yet the same souls still remain in place to fill hearts with hope, and a will that bled what poets would use to dip their quill. Like Martin King, He showed a will far greater than who was willing to make blood spill. And though his physical will left some earthly possession, some cash to pay the bills, his immaterial will left foundations where we could build. May his will be written in the earth. Pre-Garvey Marcus, his will outliveth his flesh, that hope we would rise above those who bought us. Black enterprise, the tool to build more centered lives, witnessing spiritual genocide, grew a will in him that would never make this agenda slide. Them says Black Star Liner never sailed. Them who? The ones whose darkness allowed them not to bear witness to the Black Star lineage, painting this Black Star's lineage into the ether. May his will be written in the stars, and remind no one how much of our destiny is ours, because how you view yourself is the cause. Pre the plight of Robert Marley, whose will distilled a willing voice, resounding above mountains, riding the clouds to shower the four corners. Roots rock reggae without borders, with the truth wrapped around it. From King's Son came the King's Son, and with him comes the message of one love. May his will be written in the wind, and while bone surrenders carbon, these wills will still wander into valleys and over hills and over seas, and will not cease until it has bared fruition's fruit and planted its seeds. May our will be written in our hearts, blossom in our thoughts, felt through life's vibrations. For what life is worth is what we willeth it to be. So the question remains, will I, will I, will I? I will. Xgzabeher.
Brother, love it. Love it. So many beautiful lines in there. Yeah.
Good times. Yeah, definitely. I mean, man, I've been writing these poems over a while, you know. Sometimes a poem take me up to a year to write.
Far away,
And
man. Keep them flowing. Keep them flowing.
all right. This piece is called Online. Xgzabeher. On the blood-soaked sand of shorelines, where masters chose their slaves, but nowadays it's through window panes of glass and light. That's where slaves choose their masters. Is where sheep graze on pastures of past hers and his experiences. Life has become too hard nowadays. So this is where the convenience is. Vicariously is how we be, which is to say we can no longer live unless we're on the live, which is to say we can't even eat unless we're staring into digital candlelight. One wonders if our technological advancement was handled right, driven by capitalistic oversight. So it's not a sober sight to witness the world transforming practically overnight, because on open fields and playgrounds where we once chose our friends, and now in group chats and discords is where we now choose our enemies, is where ripened animosity is plucked from frustrated vines and laid down in comment lines. So now you can spew hate on someone across the world who doesn't even speak your language. Then ask the question, why is there so much hate online? Why the rush is like nobody now try to wait online? Is it an escape online from events that date and time? Could it be it was a weighted mind? Why we put our faith online? Is a mental world debate online. So tell me, who can save mankind when on morals, character, and dedication was why we chose our leaders? But no, it's all the things we see on social media as we line our time with lines of timelines. And a blind mind finds a story as it unfolds online, and not witness that we've been woven into this scroll of time that ensures we will forever scroll our time away. The price to pay, our souls consigned, signed onto the Wi-Fi, though we now lack connection. All while we live in a time where we have full bars all day. No longer we live in a time where we are no longer sober. No more spirits left on our shelves. Ironic how we live in a time where server farms reap our attention. And so real relations have to go offline, loading the feel of a smile, loading the hug from your child, loading loading if life is, loading if life is worthwhile while online. Yeah. Yeah.
And brilliant.
I'm liking the flows, you know.
Yep.
I get um ah I'm wondering what topic area I haven't gone to. um all
While
right.
While you're
Go
thinking
ahead.
of the next piece, I'm just going to take a minute to thank Britton, Tasha, Kapal. I hope I said that right. Ayana, Daisy, you've been through the show, and as I said, your comments and your support really helps the featured guests to really give and showcase more of themselves. So thank you for your support through the show. Without the audience in the room, it's hard for the featured guest to give of himself. So thank you to each and every one of you, your lovely comments and so forth, and your support.
Very much so. As I get to my final piece for the night.
Yeah.
Um and it's a treat because this piece is actually from Utterances by Nature Volume 2. That
Ah,
isn't doesn't exist yet. But I have been working on it, you know. And so this piece in it is entitled Believes. Right? Xgzabeher. The leaf is a leaf swaying on a branch, praying for a chance to be given. And in likewise, if we hold on to our hopes and keep them spruce, it permits our own roots to soak up energies that is ours to receive as we relieve the heaviness that often comes with life simply by believing that everything is going to be all right. Until that day when belief is a leaf blowing in the wind, seeking where it may lay, and along its way may end up lost, may end up turned, may end up tossed aside until we no longer believe, no longer relieve that the world's darkness pales in comparison to the light we've received. That's when belief is a leaf laying in a pile, decaying among convictions we've held as a child, among persisted pontification that sculpted our minds and excavated our minds to find hope inside, until we don't. A time when belief is a leaf flowing along a stream, and along time's river, we'll search for our dreams where leaves go that shed in our coldest of winters, and our boldness it withers under daunting snow, wishing that only we had known that belief is a leaf our soul seeks to find. And unless we remind our hearts to believe, then belief is a leaf dancing with embers, where the smell of timber smolders, drying up what our spirits remember, until our own souls become a stranger. In this life, belief is a leaf, dog-eared and folded in our book of life. And these words therein inscribes that belief is a leaf sprouting anew, fresh as a rose with the morning's dew. And what a man believes, he calls his truth. So may showers of faith make his gardens bloom, then wilt and fade to sprout anew. May faith reign and remind us that belief is a leaf crowning the tree of life. And should we stop believing, it would surely die, and for sure deny the passage of what is yet to be. So for me, belief is a leaf in my morning tea. Belief is the voice of greatness calling me, calling us to spring our own branches, farming trees, birthing forests in this calming breeze. And with all these comes the habitat, ripened fruits for the children to feed, that seeds the manifestation of all we can ever be. So if belief is a leaf, then be leaves. Xgzabeher.
What a closing piece, man. What a closing piece. And I'm so glad to hear there's Utterances of Nature Volume 2 on in the making. So that's
Oh,
phenomenal.
trust
As I said to you earlier, there's only the first time, it's not the last time. So as you got events like that coming, as your second book's about to be launched and all, when you've got an ETA, let me know. As you know, usually booked up a couple of months ahead. So get in touch with me and I'll lock in a date so as we can showcase that book and your future work, like that's happening. Any events like that that you've got coming in, keep in touch with me and the door's open, right? Um,
me.
I love who you are. I love the I love the honesty of your soul. I love
uh,
the very fact that you look deep within, beyond the shallowness of life. You look beneath the skin to find the meaning of life. I love people like that. That's what these are the people that I'll remember. These are the people that I treasure. The ones who come in and flash with the flashy cars or give me this again, they're nothing. But people who come from, who are in touch with their very core of their essence, the very people who look for the authenticity and the truths in life, those are that they hold great. I hold great value in meeting people, and meeting you, Xavier, has been none short of any of those. I have not been disappointed in any form or manner to connect with you, albeit online. And God willing, we get to meet in person. But it's
we're coming to Australia, man. We're putting it
mate,
out in the universe. We're
you do
gonna
that.
be
You do
born.
that. You do that, man. It really is a pleasure to meet people like yourself. It really is because. Um, you see, you turn on the news and you see all the shit end of society, people killing each other, people knifing each other, this sort of rubbish. And then you meet and gives you belief in humanity, gives you belief in mankind, and your work, every piece I heard you recite today spoke nothing short of somebody who's searching for that meaning in life, who's been exploring all their life looking for that true value in life.
I mean, trust me. Um, I don't even know if I'll find the answers in this lifetime, but whatever lifetime I reincarnate in, I'll continue the journey where I
That's
left off.
that's it. Xavier, it's been a pleasure and an honor featuring you on the show, brother. And as I said, this is not the last time, it's only the first time. And I wish you well with the upcoming slam. And I'll hopefully, especially when I'm on holidays, I might be able to join you guys actually in Clubhouse and come out and spit out a couple of pieces. Because as I said, I'm right now 16 hours ahead of you. For me, it's Saturday.
What's happening? Oh, wait, hold up. Something just happened just now and you froze.
Can you hear
Um,
me?
yeah, I'm hearing you now. I'm hearing
Yeah.
you now.
So for me, I'm 16 hours ahead of you, so it's hard to join some of these things. Right now, it's Saturday, 1 p.m. for me, Saturday.
Oh,
For you, it's 9
right.
p.m. Friday night, right?
it's 1 p.m. Saturday where you are.
Yes, yeah. It's
What?
yeah. I'm 16 hours ahead of EST. So
Mm.
that's why it's very hard for me to join a lot of the shows like on Clubhouse. But when I'm on holidays, then I'll be able to join some of those things. Yeah.
Well, remember that the inverse of time is frequency, so we just have to vibrate on the same frequency and we'll connect.
100%, man, 100%. Pleasure having
Rainier, I would definitely love to thank you for the opportunity before you close. I'm going to definitely let you close because it's your show, but I couldn't close without echoing how easygoing this conversation was, how how much I felt like I could really be myself. Um, that is something that it's rare to facilitate such a thing in in modern times. You know, what I mean, everybody's trying to get something out of you while they have you on their platform.
it.
But I really, from your perspective, I'm seeing that you're just really trying to get the purest essence that is behind me as a poet, and being able to uncover that with you and to share the pieces with you and have these deep reasonings is something that I wouldn't spend my Friday night doing anything else. So I definitely want to extend my humblest and most sincere thanks to you. As I said, months ago we organized this.
Yeah.
It felt like eternity, and here we are at the last minute, right? Here we
Yeah.
are at the last minute of the 2 hours. So
Uh,
um, I definitely want to big you up before we close out. Is me big up yourself here, and
Thank you,
I'm
brother.
always the
That
work
means
you
a
do.
lot because all I try to be is the vessel that facilitates the platform. For I've got no agenda. I just want the feature to feel comfortable to show what they want of themselves to the world. And you've reiterated that my intention is coming through, and thank you for that. That means a lot because I never want it to be prescriptive where I want to show something for my own gain. This is not about me. I'm just the conductor issuing the tickets at the gate. That's all. I'm driving the train, man. That's all I'm doing. The passengers, that's all up to them what they want to show on the show. And I'm glad you felt comfortable to showcase. As I said, let's do it again because I think you're a man who's got a lot to share with the world in your outlook in life alone. And I think we need to do this again. We'll
Oh,
lock it a date towards the end of the year, or we'll line it up. I'll stay in touch. We'll line it up when if you got an ETA when the next book's coming or anything like that. Otherwise, towards the end of the year, we'll do it. Also, every second alternate week to something more than gibberish, I run an open mic under Poetry Vibes with Rainier. If ever you're on a loose end, feel free to pop in, come out, share a couple of pieces, and that's just an open mic that I run every alternate week. So.
all right. No, yeah, definitely. I mean, digitally, we are paranoid in here, so you see me.
Brother,
Any day,
you.
I'll be there.
Thank you, brother. Pleasure featuring you on the show. And again, thank you, Britton. Thank you, Tasha, Capello. Thank you, everybody. And Ayana, I apologize if I mispronounced your names. I am just a man from down under. That's all. But stay safe, stay blessed, and we'll do this again.
All right. Blessings and protection to you and yours.
Thank
More
you,
love
brother.
and more time, Rainier. Bless
Thank you.
up. Yeah.